Kia ora, welcome to Open for Small Business. I am delighted today to be joined by Chris Tacon, who is the CEO and co-founder of Consignly. Consignly is a cloud-native warehousing management system. Chris, thank you so much for joining me here in the studio.
Thanks,
it's so
Bridget.
good to meet you.
Great to be here.
So Chris, we're going to start right back at the beginning, and we'll get to Consignly, but I'm really interested because you have had quite a long career in tech. And have done quite a bit before Consignly. So let's start back at the beginning. How did you get into tech?
Well, Bridget, it was a bit of an accident, really. I was at high school a very long time ago, in the 80s actually, and I went to a home show, as they had, down at the local stadium, entered myself and my brother's names into a computer that was there, because computers were really hard to get
Well, they were quite new, weren't they, back then? I remember.
They were. And my brother won the computer, and live on radio on Monday morning was my brother's name. I was actually listening in my bedroom to this radio, and it came on. My name didn't come up. My brother did. He jumped on live, and we won a computer. That was my start.
Do you remember what the computer was?
I do, but I'm embarrassed to say.
Amiga 500?
It was a VIC-20. We're going right back. Plugged it into the television set, and yes, it was right at the very early days of those machines. So my brothers and I learnt to program.
Yeah, wow.
Course, so yeah.
And that would have been, so advanced back then to learn to program a computer way back in the beginning of when, PCs became a thing.
Yeah, I mean, PCs weren't around even then. And so we learnt that. There's a few others in the area had ZX Spectrums and things, but certainly I remember computer studies coming into the second last year of when I was at high school. And I think myself and a couple of others there kind of took the class instead of the teacher who'd been away on a 3-month block course to learn about these new machines. So yeah, it was a fantastic time.
Yeah. So gosh, and a lot has changed since that time, hasn't it? And so how did you progress from there into tech?
Yes, by accident, really, another accident. So
accident.
Yeah, happy accident. Two happy accidents. So I ended up I guess following my girlfriend, now my wife, to university, and after a year and a half realised that wasn't for me, and while she stayed and went on with it, I went and ended up working in a warehouse, which was a 3PL warehouse. Now 3PL warehouses stands for third party logistics.
Yep. It's
where you have a whole lot of companies under one roof, and you provide their logistics services. So there I was working in the warehouse, and unfortunately one of the office people had an accident, and I was filling in for them. And one of my jobs there was to do the paperwork. And I think my hand still feels the pain of doing like a 40-page handwritten invoice. So armed with that previous, I guess, experience with computers, I started to whip together what was the first version of Consignly.
Amazing. So you came across a friction point, for you it was actually literal friction for your hand, and that gave you the idea. And so when did you found Consignly?
Yeah, good question. So the concept came only about, I guess, 10 years after that, because we're talking about 95, 96, so it's a long time ago. Yeah. And I left there a few years later to sort of start a software company, but we really started to think we could productize and create something that was going to have a real impact. But the technology wasn't around.
No.
We could sort of see that the internet was going to become faster and mobile devices would be a thing. So we started to, 10 years later, that's probably getting close to 20 years ago now, we started to put together the earlier sort of product versions, and that would be where you'd have different businesses using the same code base, essentially. I think Xero, I guess, right?
Exactly,
so, that's sort of how far back it goes. We had to wait for the technology to catch up, I guess, with our ideas.
And did you keep your programming skills alive?
I must admit, I'm not the best programmer / developer in the world at all. But I understand the basics. But I've got some really, really good people that are just really great engineers. And
And you need that, don't you? With a business like Consignly. So how did you go? You had the idea a long time ago. You saw this problem and you thought, I can do this better. Yep. And so how did you go from there to now having this, really successful business?
Yeah, we had to eat and make a living, obviously, until we could get on with it. So we I started a software company and started building a team, I guess.
Yeah.
And so met my co-founder, Nick, who's a really great guy, and he's real technically minded compared to myself.
Right.
And so,
good team.
Yeah, really good team. Then some more started joining. We formed a business called Global Office Limited, and we did bespoke development for a whole lot of different companies, both here in New Zealand and around the world. We built big production systems in China and things in Australia we've done as well, and it's been quite a ride actually.
Wow.
Done some work up and down New Zealand for a lot of companies, and small and large. Got some experience, made some mistakes. Started our first SaaS company, probably just around the time Xero started actually.
Yeah, so we're 19 and a half years old now.
Yep, there we go. So you would have been about 2005, 6, I think.
Around the same time.
About the same time. And so learning, what to do and what not to do, and really preparing ourselves. So, and then really started the big build about 6 years ago. Yeah.
For Consignly.
For Consignly, yeah.
And so tell us about Consignly.
Sure.
Tell us how it's different to other systems.
Yeah, well, a long time ago, but way back then,
Yeah.
writing out the bill, I was looking at this 3PL arrangement, or the way that 3PL warehouses work, and they're really efficient. And it's a great sharing of resources and a great way to bring some efficiency to supply chain logistics. And in New Zealand especially, we're right at the bottom of the world.
Yeah.
That's super important for us, right?
Absolutely.
We found that out through the pandemic.
Absolutely, we did, yeah.
So I could see that things were really inefficient in the way that, I guess, behind the scenes, that logistics worked. And so good logistics about moving goods, money and data, and that last bit was really poor.
Yeah.
So, we got talking, Nick and I, about how we could really bring some meaningful change to what's going on.
Right.
And so we could see that warehouses especially worked together, but they didn't share data very well. Goods would move between them. I mean, off a production line, a pair of sunglasses, it doesn't fall onto a truck for its journey. It sits there at rest, and everything that you have around you goes through these series of warehouses. So everything's interconnected in a way. And so it was trying to work out how we could build something to support that. So Consignly is actually an ecosystem, and any user or any organization on Consignly can very simply connect with another and share really high quality information and visibility. And so we're essentially building an ecosystem or a network, and everything we think about is a network first approach when we're building Consignly.
Fascinating. And so if I were a customer and I wanted to put in Consignly, I might be a 3PL business. How do I, onboard? Is it all my staff? How does it practically work? I'm thinking for the 3PL businesses listening to this podcast.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah. So I guess the 3PL businesses will understand that their WMS, their warehouse management system, is their core piece of business software, and it's how they not only work internally, but it has to integrate with all these external partners. So, for instance, when you have a warehouse, you want to know well before something gets here that it's going to arrive.
Yeah.
So you need to ingest that information, and then also you need to export your data or integrate with downstream parties. If something's leaving your warehouse, it has to go to a transport company of some sort, right? And so what we bring is usually a really complex setup. So we try and bring some real simplicity to how that looks, because we believe things don't have to be complex when it comes to these very complex scenarios. We try to make simple out of the complex, I guess. And there's a really interesting point in time, I think, about, the last 5 years, where suddenly everyone's going home and using software on the weekend.
Yeah.
And they know what good software should look like and work like and perform like. And when they come to work and have something that's well below that standard, they just psychologically, I think, feel like they haven't quite got the tools for the job. So
that's such an interesting point. I think you're so right. That the kind of rise of consumer apps and things like Uber just make life easier. And you're right. I think employees then expect that level of ease and efficiency at work, but often they don't get it. So Consignly's disrupting that and providing a better experience for employees as much as for the end user.
That's right. And so, people don't like to feel silly, and they don't want to ask silly questions. And so, we observed years ago, we'd write a piece of software and go and ask, does everybody understand? Oh, yep, we understand. And yet, there's a few there that didn't. So it's very, very bound with psychology, I think. Yeah.
So fascinating. And so Consignly is obviously a differentiator in the market and in a business that's going really well. How do you get your mind into running a business? Because it's quite different. You really liked computers, you kind of learned how to program, and then you worked in a warehouse, saw an opportunity.
Yep.
How does that translate? Or where did you go to learn the business side of running a business?
I was really lucky in the 3PL warehousing company I worked at, and I had a great opportunity there it was a fast growing business, I guess. And so I went to the office and started working on that computer system, and was given the responsibility to make some mistakes and I guess just the school of hard knocks there, I guess, and work through what to do and what not to do, and then having just really good people around me that were supportive and going, let's have a crack at this, let's go, let's do it. So I guess that's the only way. I've just got on and stumbled a few times and learnt what works and what doesn't. It's the business side's something I've had a lot of great people around me to help with that side of it. Like I said before, my co-founder Nick, we make a good team. I'm often, let's go over and do this, and Nick will think very, very carefully why we should or shouldn't, and make that balanced argument. So I'm just very fortunate with that.
You often hear with co-founders that one might be kind of quite like bold and ideas driven and let's do this, and then someone else might balance them out with a bit more of a pragmatic, strategic approach. Which is really important, right? It's important to surround yourself with people who have the skills that you don't.
100%.
So when it comes to your team, so how, you've got employees.
That's right. There's about 15, 16 of us at the moment. We come from mostly New Zealand, but we've got people from around the world as well, and young ones and maybe some more mature ones. So we're a good mix, I guess, of youth and enthusiasm and experience. Got a great team actually, and I see my role as first and foremost a coach for them, and making sure that they've got a great environment to work in, feel supported, feel like they can put up their hand and put forward their ideas.
Fantastic.
I've got a really strong group of senior people that can effectively argue the best way forward with something, but then take the field and play 100% if their method wasn't picked. That's a really important
commit
part
and
of it.
disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
Disagree, commit.
Respectful conflict, I think we call it. So
that's it.
Yeah, that's great.
It's so important to have a team, that can challenge you as well and challenge your thinking. And how do you? So business has been pretty hard in New Zealand. Xero, we've got data that tells us that different industries have been faring better than others, but overall, the country's been under a bit of a malaise for a couple of years. Yep. We really need to all fight to be coming out of that and thinking about all the positive things that are happening. Yep. So, in your space and with your team, how do you celebrate the wins? Or do you celebrate the wins? Because, we have research that tells us that Kiwi businesses are not particularly good at stopping and celebrating wins, but we often focus on the things that could go better. So what rituals do you have with your company and your team?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'd be guilty of that, being a Kiwi myself, probably not thinking about this celebrating too much, but the downs are guaranteed, so you've kind of you have to find a way. So we have a number of ways of doing that. I think the first thing that we do is we have a daily get together in the morning, a stand up, a lot of people would call it, and two of those days, one of them is a hat tip Tuesday. You must identify a person in your team and positively give them a hat tip for something. But then thankfulness on Thursday is really important for us. So what are we thankful for? So they're the little things that keep that going. But we've got a milestone that we've just passed internally, just produced a new tool, and we'll be all going out on Friday next week to celebrate that.
Fantastic.
I don't think this will go out before then, so I can say that.
This is a bit of hustle, and so it's a reward for the hustle.
Yeah, but look, it's important, I think, to what I spend a lot of my time doing is one-on-ones with my team, and the person responsible for that little win that we've got, or who's led that project, we make sure that I take them aside and have a chat and make sure that they understand it's a great achievement, and they should be proud of themselves.
Yeah, I think that one-on-one coaching is so important, and I think it's something that when you're busy, and in lots of companies, particularly in SMEs, where there's not necessarily a heap of resources and everyone's really having to pitch in, those that coaching and that one-on-one stuff can really fall away when you get busy. So it's really important to prioritize. So I'm really, it's so nice to hear that is one of your key priorities and probably a differentiator when it comes to your business and how you treat your team and building that culture.
Yeah, I get that investment back in spades. I realised that a long time ago, and I kind of learnt that too from from way back at the warehousing days. My boss then was a rugby coach actually, and he used to catch up with Steve Henson, used to come and visit him and stuff like that. So all those guys, and I was a young fella, used to observe the way they would sort of talk about things, and that kind of, a lot of those things I don't think are applied a lot to tech teams who are often maybe a little bit more individuals than certainly way back when we started.
Yeah.
But trying to get them to play a team game, is really important, and I think I've done that reasonably well.
Well, it's interesting. There are a lot of parallels between sport and business. We hear that quite often in terms of just high-performing teams and what does it take, and that deep care you need for each other in a team, but also that challenge to push yourselves harder and further and, and play a game together, because you can't have a whole lot of individuals. You even if you have strong individual contributors, you still need to be able to come together as a team and push for the result that you're looking to get. Yeah,
that's right. And the tech industry, especially a few years back, there'd be quite a few young people coming through being called genius, and have a little bit, star players. And so, you're quite right. That has to be they have to fit into a team and realise that the team's bigger than that.
Yeah, that's right. And usually you're much better off in your team. You do better as a team versus as an individual, and you get better results. And I think once people, sometimes it takes a bit of maturity or experience. Once you understand that, then it changes the way people work.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Absolutely.
And so Consignly is your business, but you're still involved in the global office, is it?
Yeah, that's right. So global, if you think about that as a bespoke development house, so we would write software for large or medium to small organisations here and abroad. So a lot of really great projects, and but if you go back a couple of years ago, or even 18 months ago, there was probably only 4 or 5 people full time at Consignly, and the rest were all over at Global, and that's pretty much reversed now.
Right.
So we've been fortunate to sort of have that really good talent pool there, and have drawn on that pretty quickly. We've accelerated that of late, and so we've had to sort of start to leave some of our projects that we've worked on for a long time behind, but that's been it's bittersweet, right?
In favour of growing Consignly, though.
In favour of that, so so that's something that we've that's quite handy to have that talent pool there. We've just about exhausted it. Those numbers have reversed, and we're bigger at Consignly than what we were just a wee while ago at Global.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so what have been some of the challenges along the way? Because I want to also talk about the wins and the successes, but what are some of the things that have been difficult in business for you, to grow Consignly? Yeah. What are some of the things that stand out?
Yeah, well, actually, just to that point, we're moving from a bespoke environment to a product environment, technically, is difficult at all levels. So, and it's a lot of bespoke development companies look to productize as it's often a name, but it's not as easy as it sounds, and that's both at an engineering level and a business commercial level as well, when it comes to pricing and understanding.
Complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated. The marketing, all of it. So I'm still learning as I go along, and so that's probably the transition from the bespoke side to the productized arrangement. That's been the biggest challenge for lots of us. So knowing when to overdo something or just pull back on that's the big thing. I think that we are pretty well served now after all the disruptive nature of like the earthquakes and GFC and being around a while.
You're Christchurch based, right?
We are,
So you've had more challenges than even the rest of us.
We have, yeah. So, we've had a lot of, those challenges through the time we've been going. So that resilience factor is strong with us, I guess, I would say. But some of those challenges have looked like the GFC. It was probably one of the hardest ones for us.
Absolutely. Really, really tough.
Yeah, it was. The earthquakes were obviously then COVID for everybody as well, although that's been very helpful with Consignly, just timing-wise. So, but I think, any one particular challenge, I would just say probably market scale here in New Zealand. It's difficult here because we are a small country.
Yes.
And so even if you get a reasonable amount, if you get a really good product together, it's still, doing really well with it means getting offshore, and it's another challenge again.
Absolutely.
And, recent challenges have been just that, getting offshore. So we're now established in Australia, which we're very proud of because we know that's very hard to do.
That's a big milestone.
Yeah, it is. So that's probably been the biggest challenge, is getting established over there and understanding the difference of their market to ours in different ways. How is the logistics sector over there structured? What do they respond to over there, rather than...
Because we're not the same Kiwis and Aussies. We think we are, but when you dig into it...
We're very different. And we're very different the way we do business,
yes.
I think, very much so. And so we found that out. Everyone told me it would be different, and I probably didn't, estimate how different it was. So, but look, it's been challenging, but very rewarding too.
And where have you gone for help with that? Because you can't do it all on your own. So, who has helped you, or any industry bodies or organisations that have come in and been helpful with that move over to Australia?
Yeah, look, we've had a lot of really good assistance with that from, say, NZTE. I've got some really good mentors. I mean, New Zealand's great. You can get put in touch. You're only 1 degree removed, they say, isn't it, right, from anyone? And
you're a big fan of mentors, aren't you? I
am,
remember
actually.
Reading that.
You're quite right, yeah. I mean, Ben Reid is a friend of mine. He's quite strong in the tech community, so he's been great working with us. Everyone at NCT has been great, but just some of those mentors and going and asking them, hey, look, what would you do? It's something I've done for a long time. I'm very big on trying to identify what our weaknesses are and trying to bolster those all the time. It's just constantly what I'm about. And
you pay it forward. I mean, you then mentor others and help others.
Yeah, I do my best to give constructive feedback. I think that's really important, and so that's something I think you'll find any of our team members would repeat.
Yeah.
I always talk about a team that works on its weaknesses will always run down a team that's playing to its strengths eventually.
Yes.
They can stay on it.
And I think that's so important because, running a business, whether you're in tech or another industry, it can be really hard and lonely, and actually figuring out who to go to for advice and where to find the people that can give you that challenging advice, which challenge you and then provide you with their points of view, can be quite hard for others. So getting involved yourself and helping other tech entrepreneurs coming through as well is really important.
It is important. And there's plenty of them that I regularly catch up with, and we have, I have my regular breakfasts and lunches and things like that. And so it is, I mean, it's smaller down in Christchurch than it is up here in Auckland, obviously, so everyone knows everyone. And so getting that support is probably, it hasn't been too hard. It's probably the thing has been working out what advice to take when you have so many people giving you advice, I guess. And I think that's the key, is there's no one way to do all of this. There's no one recipe, or everyone will be following that recipe, right?
That's exactly it. And so how do you decide which advice to take? Like, in your experience, because you're right, it's like anything. You start something like being a parent, you have a child, and everyone's got an opinion about what you should do and how you should do things. So how do you discern the advice that feels right for you?
I guess it depends on how much time I've got to think about it.
Yeah.
I would, if it's a big decision and it's something we've got a little bit of time, I'll go with my co-founder, Nick, and sit down and get his feedback. Obviously, my wife's a great supporter, and we've been together for so long. She knows the business inside out. And so asking her advice is very important. But anyone at work, really, I can sit down and bounce things off. And then I think the main thing after that is pick something and go with it, and have the courage to do a U-turn or put the vehicle in reverse and not chastise yourself too much if you didn't quite get it right. I mean, you can sit around and go in circles and wonder, or you can have a crack, and then, you don't have to keep going down that road. I think that's really important to get.
Yeah, and I mean, such a good point too, in business. Things are, you made a really interesting remark before, which was, it's certain that things will be difficult at times, or, the downtimes are assured. So, I think that's a really interesting mindset, knowing that there will be things that go wrong, there will be things that are tough, but actually it's that resilience, that anti-fragility, that ability to go, okay, we're going to pivot, we're not going to beat ourselves up for it, and we're going to try something else. That's the huge testament to, your experience. And I think probably why Consignly is going really well, because you're bringing that mindset to what you do.
Thanks. It's grabbing onto some of those philosophies tightly and saying, let's go, follow me sort of thing. It is, you really do. I can't stress that enough. I think not beating yourself up for making a decision. There's no right or wrong decision. There's just whatever comes from it.
That's it.
And, I've been probably, a few people might say, how come you've changed your mind today, Chris? And I'll go, because the wind's blowing today. So, but look, it is, it's not quite as random as that. And just finding the right way sometimes is about trying 3 of those ways until you get it right. Make mistakes and work out. Yeah,
so when it comes, obviously we've just been talking about mentoring and how important it is. Something, we've noticed that at Xero as well, and we've recently launched a program called Know Your Numbers, which is to help businesses improve their financial literacy and providing modules for support. But another part of that program is mentoring services. So accountants and bookkeepers can provide mentoring hours for pro bono, 4 hours a year for small businesses to help them on that journey. So you're right. I mean, mentoring is so important when it comes to getting more confidence and understanding and advice about what to do next.
Yeah, it is. I've been for this one thing, as I said, I've been really lucky to have access to so many great mentors. That it's been super cool to have those people to turn to, and you don't always have to take what they say on board.
Yeah, that's right.
And often I haven't, and should have, but it's been great. And New Zealand's a great place to get those people around you, so we should play to that strength.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I read a really interesting article online that you'd written about supporting STEM as a subject in education and tech careers, and particularly I was interested in your views on getting women and girls into tech. And there was a lovely article. Can you tell us a little bit about your philosophy around that?
Yeah, thanks. That's going back a few years now, and I'm thinking it's probably about 10 years ago.
Wow.
So, or more. So we noticed a long time ago, it was really quite frustrating that, we had a demographic of young men working for us, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
And so we were all the other faces, and we wanted to encourage young women to get into the industry as best we could, rather than just manufacture it. So why were we not seeing these faces? And it turned out at the time, I think they were called Telecom rather than Spark. They were they'd done some research and got a whole lot of the industry along to this event. And I remember them saying that parents wanted their little girls to marry All Blacks, not geeks would have been the word used back then. Of course, it's more mainstream now, right? But it was different back then.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, how can we encourage that sort of to happen? So we thought for a start about maybe sponsoring a high school technology prize for someone, one of the girls' schools where the girls were thinking about going into a career in tech.
Yeah.
And the first school that we went and talked to about this, the comment was made by them, "Oh yeah, we know exactly who that is." And I thought, oh, hang on, that young lady's already decided she's going into tech, I would say, and so that's not really going to have
that's not the purpose.
Yeah. And my wife said to me something quite interesting at the time. She came from quite a disadvantaged background and turned her life around, and she remembers at about age 9 a teacher saying to her, "Hey, look, you're really smart." And before then she didn't realise she was smart.
Yeah.
And I thought, 9, that sounds like about the age that it might be a good time to change the thinking. And so we got together with a PR company who was going to handle all that for us and do all the liaison. They went out to a whole lot of schools and asked around. We ended up getting a group of 9-year-olds together, and my wife and I and a couple of others took them on a tour of Xero.
Yeah, it's so fantastic.
It was really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Xero and Trade Me in Wellington, as a way to sort of show them that, hey, they had young women at those companies. And when we got to Xero, it was really interesting that the 2 young ladies that met us there, they were dressed in superhero costumes, and it was the superheroes of, I think, digital safety and engineering and data. It was really cool. It had a great effect. And so that was a really cool thing to do. Then, funnily enough, only a couple of months ago, one of the fathers of one of those girls got hold of me and said that his little girl had come on the trip, had won a international coding competition over in Europe, and she was off over there to take part in that, and she's got a career in that. So that was really great to hear that we had a little bit of an impact. Since then, just because it's become mainstream, we now have some absolutely wonderful female engineers who are really, really good at their jobs, as good as anyone else. And I just, just thankful for that every day. It's great.
Well, and I applaud you for your foresight and actually, seeing the opportunity to encourage females into tech as careers, and for taking the initiative to, take 9-year-olds on a trip to Trade Me Zero. I mean, how amazing, and obviously pivotal for all of them. So, you're one of the early champions for diversity in tech, which I think is incredible.
Yeah, it's just got to come naturally. It's just got to come that I think young ladies can really just go, well, I can do that. That's for me. It sounds interesting, and away I go.
Yeah. And look, and you're right. I mean, it's much progressed now, but we can always continue to encourage females into tech. I think kind of recent years have taken women back a few steps, young girls getting exposed to all sorts of things that make them think that, being an influencer and makeup and hair is what it's all about. But actually there's a lot more opportunity for our daughters
there is.
than anything that they might see on TikTok. So it's great to remind ourselves of that.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice to someone else starting out a business, and it may be tech, it may be another industry, any advice that you would impart to them? Or maybe it's a business that's, in early stage and thinking, oh, this is really hard.
I would say to them that it's to keep going. It's really rewarding, and to find the mentors I was talking about earlier. I mean, I think that's the one thing that I would be most thankful for, is choosing to go and invest time with others. Because when you get busy as a small business, taking an hour or two to go and sit with someone for a coffee and then discard 90% of what they're saying, but keep that 10% as a bit of gold. It doesn't feel like that's a really good return when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
But taking the time out to do that has been one of the most important things, I think, that I've managed to do. I think I would say to them that you'll likely be aiming there, you'll get there, but there will be great.
Yes.
If that makes sense. It'll
totally.
be a really
might not be what you expect, but it will be great.
That's right. And so, and it's just the most rewarding thing in the world. I think when you're working for yourself and you're in the thick of it, and you get some of those achievements ticked off, and you can't lose if you don't give up, right? Yeah.
You can't lose if you don't give up. I love that. That's going to be my mantra for the day, I think. And so what's next for Consignly? What's your passion, purpose 10 years from now? Where do you hope Consignly is at?
So Consignly has been, from day one, built and thought of as an international product. And so we've recently, as I say, landed on the ground. We're in every state of Australia now, and that's really exciting for us. So getting offshore, as I said, it's been hard, but we're there. And so next year brings a great deal more scalability to our infrastructure. So at the moment, we've got quite a sizable business here in New Zealand, and starting in Australia, will be anywhere in the world with customers up to sort of 5 to 10 million orders a month. So high volume e-commerce orders, running large warehouses where they'll have both automation and robots and humans. So we've got a few more years of growth, I'm sure, left in us.
Absolutely.
But now these challenges are different, right? So having got to where we are and overcome some of those, got offshore, that's what the next few years looks like. It's supporting that international growth. And it's a fast changing world. We would have probably thought a couple of years ago we would have needed a bigger team or this bigger team, but probably half the team that we would have originally thought. So look, it's really exciting for us at the moment. I feel young again. It's great.
And where's the next territory after Australia? Have you got your eyes on a big market in the Northern Hemisphere?
Probably the UK, but what happens with the supply chain is we get taken there. So we've already had discussions in Singapore and Saudi Arabia, of all places. And so, it'll just take us where it takes us. We've got a couple up our sleeve in other parts of the world, but it's certainly international is the word.
Yeah.
And bring it on.
So, Chris, talking about Consignly's global expansion, what role is technology going to play? What's going to help you expand globally?
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. The technology is rolling on really quickly, obviously, and it's accelerating. AI is a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess there's three main things we've had to get right to get our expansion ready. And one of those is enabling our customers to self-set up as much as possible. So we'll support them through that, but to lower the barrier to entry.
The onboarding.
Yeah, the onboarding. There's a lot of data has to be changed. And so the tooling for that we've invested heavily in, and that's working, really well now. And most customers do a lot of that task themselves. Previously, that's unheard of. The next thing is infrastructure. So having the might of, I guess, cloud computing. A few years ago, we couldn't compete with a server on site.
Yes.
And now we're well past that and
can
outperform it. Yeah.
Mm.
Lastly, and this is where some of the AI comes in, is product support. So we'd like to make our system, as I said earlier, very easy to identify with, like software you would use in your daily life, and assimilate and make it intuitive. However, for those who need help, they need to call someone, and we don't want to be up all night supporting our product around the world. And so what we use is what we call conversational AI.
Right.
And so that's very natural AI agent, natural sounding, I guess, in English or any one of 30 languages.
Wow.
That you can call for support, or she can call you and discuss what it is, what your problems are. What are you dealing with at the moment? You can then ask, Sophie is her name, by the way. And so you can ask Sophie to ask Chris to give you a call, or be put through to another agent that might be more specialized. And these agents are incredibly useful and incredibly natural sounding, and people identify with them, or I guess they converse with them very naturally, because they don't sound like a robot, like they kind of did a few years ago. We make it clear to our customers, of course, that they are AIs. They can do things for us, like understand if the person's getting frustrated and immediately let us know.
Right. Sophie's doing more than just triaging calls.
Yes.
She's actually able to answer
any question.
Able to answer questions, but then pass on if she senses that actually the customer needs more than what she can offer.
Yeah, so she's got the entire knowledge base of Consignly, which is quite extensive, all in her brain, I guess, if you would. And then every support ticket that we answer, through our standard support tickets, gets ingested by her every day. And so that builds her knowledge as well. But you could talk to Sophie for hours about how to set up your warehouse and how to achieve a particular goal with Consignly, and she can answer that confidently each time.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
and just amazing how technology that didn't exist years ago that exists now is going to help propel your growth globally, because that's so much easier to implement, isn't it? Immediately having some successful sort of customer experience that people can then word of mouth pass on about what a good experience it's been for them. Yeah. Such a game changer.
That's right. Timing's everything, right? So it's been out of the pandemic, it was shown that a lot of logistics software has been quite poor in what it's set up to do. It hasn't really sort of adjusted quickly to those world changes. So there's that, plus the AI technology coming on board is really, really helpful for us to have that demand at one side and then be making use of it. Cloud platforms like ours can make real use of those emerging technologies.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, we're the first accounting software in the cloud as well. And I'm a big fan of the ability for cloud computing to really transform productivity, efficiency.
100%. I noticed that you guys put up your MCP server offering recently, actually, in the developer center, and that's really exciting. So that technology will see a lowering of the barrier to integrations really quickly. And so these have previously been big problems for logistics companies. How do I integrate with my up and downstream partners? Those barriers are going to disappear very quickly, and those who aren't ready, it's going to be a tough road. So exciting times.
Really exciting times. Well, I love that. I think, you're absolutely right. And it's something that our founder, Rod, also said when he started Xero was, think global from day one. And if you really want to make it, as a small country, we're an amazing, mighty country. But if you really want to make it, you've got to think about how you can service the world. And I think that's such sage advice, and the same message you've given us today.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I wish you all the best, Chris. It's been so fascinating speaking to you. What a journey, what an impact you've had on tech, and will continue to have. I really am excited to see where Consignly goes in the future, because obviously you've got an amazing business model and an innovative, creative mindset that is going to be a wonderful story to watch. So thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Bridget. Great to be here. Cheers.